America is officially $36 trillion in debt, and we are adding nearly $2 trillion more every year. If you think this can go on forever, you are absolutely not paying attention. Today, I'm gonna break down what this debt explosion really means for our economy, your investments, and your future, and what needs to happen here before it's too late. There's a famous hedge fund manager by the name of Ray Dalio. I've read several of his books. I think he's a great author. He's willing to share a lot of his life experience that he picked up managing a macro hedge fund. One of his recent books he's written, it's called Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order. He studies empires and civilizations back thousands of years, and what he's found is that empires, they don't last forever. Historically, empires last about 250 years before declining. Now, if you're not that great at math for the US, that 250 mark hits in 2026. And the warning signs are everywhere. When you look at all of these civilizations that have failed throughout history, the patterns are the same. Number one, they're accumulating massive debt. We've got 36 trillion. There's internal political conflict. We've never been more polarized politically here in the US. There is a rising rival, both economically and militarily, and in this case, that's China. And ultimately, the loss of reserve currency status, so the dollar's role as the world's financial backbone, eventually goes bye-bye. We lose reserve currency status. Now, here's the scary part most people aren't talking about. Of that $36 trillion of debt we owe, $9 trillion of that national debt has to be refinanced this year at much higher interest rates. So, before we were borrowing money at 1-2%. Now we're refinancing at 4-5%, maybe even higher. And if you just think about it, what happens to you if all of a sudden your mortgage payment quadruples overnight? And that's the problem America's facing right now. When we're spending hundreds of billions more just servicing interest payments, guess what? That's money you can't spend on defense, on innovation, on infrastructure, on education, or on anything else that helps to grow the economy. Now, of course, spending cuts are a piece of the solution. Even if we were to slash every single wasteful discretionary program tomorrow, that's not gonna fix the budget. Why? Well, because the biggest spending items, Medicare, Social Security, and debt interest payments, those are locked in and politically untouchable. Now, even with DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, streamlining all of that bureaucracy, we cannot cut our way to solvency. We have had a spending problem for years, and it has been a two-party problem. Republicans and Democrats, we have not run a budget surplus since 2001. Every single year from 2002 on, we have been spending more money than we take in the form of tax revenues. So we have to figure out how to become solvent, which is no longer spending more than we make. We need to focus on smart cuts, smart spending cuts, but even more importantly, we need growth. If you're enjoying this video, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted every time we have new content. All right, so like I said, growing the economy is really our only way out. We have to grow the economy faster than we grow the debt. Can you believe that? Makes sense, but we have not been doing that for well over 20 years now. And if you think about it, when Trump's tax cuts came into effect in 2017, individual income tax rates came down, corporate income tax rates came down, and there were so many critics who were screaming and yelling about the exploding deficits and the negative impact this was gonna have on the economy. But here's what actually happened. Tax revenue from 2016 until today grew by roughly 50% over the course of that time. Why? Because lowering tax rates grew the economic base. It grew the economy faster. You have more people working, you have more profits, you have more investment. And what happens is lower rates, lower percentages on a much bigger pie, on a much bigger economy, produces more tax dollars, not fewer. And I'll tell you, you do not fix a debt crisis by taxing more, you fix it by growing more. So the next question is, what happens if we don't change course? If we stay on this path, we will endure higher and higher taxes that choke off economic growth. It will require us to issue more debt so that 36 trillion keeps going higher and higher just so we have money to pay the interest. We will see a slow erosion of the dollar status as the world's reserve currency, and the eventual outcome of all this is we'll see inflation, stagnation, and a permanent decline in American prosperity and the quality of life. If we ever were to lose reserve currency status, these short-term recessions that we've become used to, where they're 1 quarter, maybe 2 quarters, they're going to become depressions. They're going to be much, much longer because we're not going to have the ability to right the ship like we've been able to do over the course of the last several decades. And that's not just bad news for Washington. It's bad news for every American investor, retiree, and business owner. The bottom line, what do we need to do? I'm going to break it down to 3 things. Number 1, cut reckless discretionary spending. Number 2, grow the economy aggressively through lower taxes and deregulation. And number 3, we have to reform entitlement programs like Medicare and Social Security gradually over time before they implode and there's nothing left to help our retirees. If we do that, there's still time to save American dominance. If we don't, history and Ray Dalio's research says that the clock is already ticking. If you want honest conversations about where the economy's headed and how to protect yourself, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments. Do you think America can turn this around, or are we too far gone? See you next time.